What's up, people? I'm Shaggy, the Opinionated Hippie, and this is part four, the final part, unfortunately, of me ranking and reviewing the Grateful Dead's View from the Vault archival concert release series. Um, this is actually a DVD series in which they released complete DVD shows using the actual footage that was shown like on the video screens during the concert. So it includes like when they do like the weird effects and all the trippy stuff during the jams and stuff like that. Um, and then so they released the DVDs and then they released the soundtrack of the DVDs on CD. This is a review of the CD, not the actual DVD. I do own the DVDs. I did check out, there are two shows in this one. This is a 4-disc set, the final one. Two shows from 1987 from the Dylan and the Dead tour. It's just the Dead sets. There weren't encores, so you just essentially get two sets. I've seen them both. I watched the Anaheim one a little more carefully to see if I could see myself. I couldn't. It was at Anaheim Stadium. We were way far back there. I do, and if you watch the video, you can see the actual section I was sitting in, way in the back with very few people. I think it was sold out, but it did not feel crowded at all. But they were both fantastic, fantastic shows. So I'm going to review this and then rank this according to the other three. 4 discs. And 87 for the Dead. That was just, and this I think reflects that, was a fun year for the Dead. Jerry wasn't in a coma. He's relearning to play guitar, apparently. Can't say he absolutely forgot because he's still pretty fantastic. But these shows had very much a fun vibe. In a weird way, it reminds me of Phish after Phish came back from their like early 2000s hiatus when they took a little break. And they came back and the jams and the shows were high energy. It was a lot of fun. Like every jam was just spectacular, but nothing was really long or really indulgent or really like, you couldn't actually say, oh my goodness, this is a must hear performance of this song. But every song was really good. It just may not have been like the best ever. I kind of feel that's the way these two shows go. Is the energy is fantastic. The performances are fantastic. The sound is fantastic. The jams are great. The set lists are kind of fun. But is there one performance where I'm like, you have to hear this? This is a definitive version of this song? No. But overall, the entire thing is fantastic. So each disc is essentially a different set. So none of the sets are more than 80 minutes long. So you get the first 2 discs or the entirety of the July 24th, 1987 show. This is in Oakland Coliseum. Did not go to this show. Still in high school at the time, though. It was summer, but I wasn't making long road trips to see the Dead yet. First set is really good. Fun, good energy, some good songs. Very 87 set. Opens up. You get some funicular tuning. Nice. A lot of this. Kind of fun. Dead are in a playful mood. You get a jackstraw opener, good energy for the jackstraw, and then a Mississippi half step as the second song, which is just fantastic. That closing jam just has that Mississippi just soaring, just that kind of very grand, big sounding ending. Jerry's just kind of flying on guitar. Excellent energy there. That's followed by a My Brother Esau, the Bob Weir song. I'm pretty sure this is the last My Brother ever performed by the Dead. It's pretty good. Like, I think they finally have maybe figured out how to make it work. It is such a weird song. Nice little intro part with Bob like dropping some chords before they drop into the song. It's one of the better My Brother Esau's. I kind of maybe, I don't know. It made room for other things. I kind of wish they had dropped it every so often after this, but I think this is the last performance of that, if I'm not mistaken. Friend of the Devil, which is always good in this part. Midland's piano, Jerry's solo. I like Friend of the Devils from this era. We get a Me and My Big River. When Push Comes to Shove is fantastic. I think, this is right after In the Dark came out. I believe we have I mean, my brother Esau eventually became like a bonus track, I think, on the CDs. I think, do we have every single? No, we don't. We don't have a couple of the songs, but we have a lot of songs from In the Dark being dropped over the course of these shows. When Push Comes to Shove, which is a fun first set song. I've always enjoyed that. The energy is good. It's a funky little groove. We get a Far From Me, Brent song. A Cassidy, really nice Cassidy. The jam in this is great. It goes out there. When they get to the like changes at the end, the changes are so smooth, and Jerry's just kind of sailing over the changes. He's a lot of times Jerry's like abruptly changes directions when we get through all those like changes at the end of Cassidy. Jerry's just kind of sailing over them, but like still navigating the like twists and turns of what the rest of the band is doing. But there's sort of a fluidity to this that not all Cassidys have. Like when things are clicking, like this is one of those Cassidys where things are just working. And then that goes into a set ending deal, a very common set ending pairing from this era, Cassidy deal. Solid, fun, interesting set list, well performed, 87 first set. The second set, really short pre-drum segment, like it's less than 30 minutes long. It's less than 25 minutes long. I think it's 25 minutes long, the pre-drums. Most pre-drums go about 40 minutes. They kind of make up for it after space, but we get a Hell in the Bucket opener. I think Hell in a Buckets opening the second set are just better. It seems like if it opens the first set, it has this like monstrous Tyrannosaurus Rex energy. Like it's huge. It's like they're just like attacking. When it opens the second set and the band is already kind of warmed up for a while, it has this sleeker, more stealthier energy. It's still hitting hard, but everything just seems to click a little bit better. And it usually leads to some pretty high energy second sets, and I think that's definitely the case here. A good Hell in a Bucket. That goes into a Scarlet Begonias. Really awesome jam in the Scarlet Begonias. Like it's high energy. Jerry's all over the place. It's pretty intense. But then almost immediately, it seems, because most Scarlets seem to go on longer than this, but really soon they go back into like Scarlet and they do a cold ending. Doesn't go into Fire, doesn't go into anything else. It's a self-contained Scarlet Begonias with a cold ending, which is just an odd thing to hear the Dead do, like 85 in the 80s or 90s. But almost as soon as they're done, they drop into a Playing in the Band. And the Playing in the Band, I think, is the highlight of this show. Really out there playing, beautiful, just psych energy. Everybody's kind of doing their own thing, but like not getting in each other's way, but at the same time be inspired by each other. About 3 or 4 minutes into the jam, it kind of gets lower and Jerry starts doing like this really cool finger picking, kind of this really cascading sort of jam energy that's really cool. And then they kind of build that up in a little bit of a little chaotic ending. And then immediately we go into drums and it's a very heavy electronic drum. Like Mickey's just making all kinds of crazy chaotic sounds. And it kind of feels like maybe that's the way the drums are going to go at this point. But then, oh no, this is the second show. The second show is with the electronic drums. We just get a pretty cool drums with this, a really cool space. I'm mixing shows here, sorry. And then out of space, we get an Uncle John's Band. So I think that's maybe was supposed to go pre-drums, which would make sense, a Scarlet playing into Uncle John's Band into drums. But we get it coming out of space. It's a pretty good Uncle John's Band. It's nice to hear. But the other true highlight of the set is after the Uncle John's Band, they go into Dear Mr. Fantasy. And I think their versions of Dear Mr. Fantasy are just fantastic. It gives her this bigger, psychier, like Midland's keyboard work is fantastic. There is something just about the Dead and Dear. This is a song they should have been doing for decades. You know, why they only started doing it when, you know, Midland joined the band is kind of weird. But Dear Mr. Fantasy, it's just such a great cover song, and the Dead do it so well. Midland's vocal performance is fantastic. It's absolutely amazing. Bob, trying to keep the energy going, drops a 90 to Miracle after that. This would have been a good a place where I think for him to drop like a spoonful even, that would have been pretty sweet to have a really sick spoonful coming out of Dear Mr. Fantasy. I think that's more in line with what the energy was going with, but the Miracle works. And then Jerry, after Miracle, drops a Bertha. And the Bertha has those big moments in the guitar solo when Bob, runs to the front of the stage and like does that. They do that kind of stop start type thing, like get the crowd all amped up. It's got that a good end of the set song. Like Bertha open shows great, but it actually works as an end of the set song. But it's not an end of the set song because then Bob follows up with a Sugar Mag. That's pretty good. So a really solid, highly enjoyable first set. Playing in the band. Scarlet Band Jam is great, just kind of short. The Playing in the Band Jam is nice and healthy and long, has some beautiful moments in it. And then the Dear Mr. Fantasy is just absolutely beautiful. A really strong show. Then we get on disc 3, July 26th, 2 days later, Anaheim, California. The first set is probably the weakest of all the 4 discs, this first set. Opens up with an Iko Iko, which is super nice. Love the Iko Iko. Great. Always a good way to start a show. Just makes it fun. But I don't ever think, in my history of seeing shows, Iko Ikos to open any set, first or second, generally don't lead to really intense psych explorations. I have just found that to be the case. And that's kind of the case with this show. I don't think it's quite as exploratory as the previous one. But we get an Iko Iko. A New Minglewood Blues follows. Not sure what Bob could have followed with other than that. He'd already dropped a Jack Straw. Maybe a Stranger would have been nice. I don't know. The New Minglewood after Iko, I'm just wanting something a little different. We get a Tons of Steel. Brent Midland. There's another parallel universe where Midland is a solo star and takes a bunch of Michael McDonald's fans and maybe has a couple hits. It just doesn't work with the Dead. West LA Fadeaway, love this song. I love the lyrics of this song. Love the fact that Jerry just runs into an old flame and it's like, hey man, you got an hour? Let's go. I may not be happy to see you, but hey. I don't know. It's a great song. Or maybe even a minute at the end. Why he only needs it for a minute or two. Not sure about that. We get a When I Paint My Masterpiece, a Mexicali. When I Paint into Mexicali, a Masterpiece Mexicali. A Bird song that starts off a little rough, and the segue from the jam back into the song is a little rough. But the actual solo, the actual jam itself is pretty awesome. Not as long as other Bird songs from this era, but really nice exploration. Jerry going out there, pretty straightforward, just Jerry exploring and the band following him. When he decides to wrap it up, he starts playing these really like chunky chords, and it just becomes a little like the bird can't fly anymore and it's trying to force itself to stay up. And then those chunky chords kind of just fall apart and we ease back into the rest of the song. And then a riotous Promised Land, a Birdland to close out. Always thought they did that on purpose just so they could have Birdland in the set lists. That's set 1, probably the weakest of the 4 discs, 4 sets, but I don't think it's bad. And then disc 4, we open with a Shakedown Street. Nice, great jam at the end, nice and funky. It's everything you want, really groovy. When it starts to die out, Phil kind of steps up and leads us up for a while. Then we go into the end of Shakedown. We get a Looks Like Rain, complete with all the theatrics at the end where Mickey's doing the beam and Jerry's got those like raindrop kind of circular type licks that he's dropping. Bob's yelling all kinds of crazy stuff. Rain, rain, doing his whole theatrics thing. And then that goes into a beautiful Terrapin Station. Not much of a jam at the end other than the typical just riding that same jam. There's no sort of extraneous improv at the end of this before we go into a really cool electronic drums. Mickey's just attacking all the electronics, making all kinds of noises. This goes on for about a minute before Billy's like, no, man, I'm taking over. Then we get Billy on like the actual drum kit, and then we get like a normal drums from there on out. Space, really cool Space. And about 2/3 of the way through, it's about 6-7 minutes long, you kind of sense that the other one is going to happen. Like you get those intense other one vibes, and they kind of just, it slowly accelerates until we're like, whoa, we're in the other one. Like there's no real actual like fill run where we drop into it. There's no like, okay, this is clearly space and now we're in the other one. Obviously the disc itself delineates those two, but it really is just this neat sort of acceleration. And then all of a sudden, oh, we're fully committed to the other one and we're in the other one. Get the verses, nice jam in the middle. Again, not the greatest other one, not a must hear, but an absolutely fantastic, enjoyable, exactly what you would want from an 87 Dead other one. Just really high energy, just absolutely amazing. That goes into a Stella Blue, typical good solid Stella Blue, a Throwing Stones after that, and then a Not Fade Away with a really healthy, nice jam in the middle. That's really good. But yeah, really strong, fun set, some good songs, great set lists. Nothing to complain about at all. Where would I rank this one among the other View from the Vaults? It's at number one. I think it's the best. They saved the best for last. It's a weird run of shows. Like, I think they all have like inconsistencies. They all have peaks. They all have valleys. I don't think any of them are like grand slams. But I think from start to finish, it being two shows also, this is the most consistent and most enjoyable and most like fun of the listens. But yeah, those are my thoughts over the course of 4 videos on the View from the Vault series by The Dead. Yeah, all right, that's all I got. Let me know what you think about this series, if you hear these shows, all that kind of stuff, if you were at these shows. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those things, and go listen to this. It's a really good listen. Yeah, and it starts off really strong. Yeah, all right, go listen to this. Peace. Talk to you later.